A new law in Illinois will make it illegal for landlords to refuse to rent to those people who violated our federal immigration laws. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's going over a new rule or law in the state of Illinois. And it's just like I said, for those people who violated our federal immigration laws, landlords are now going to be obligated to rent to those people. Okay, you have to rent to them. To the criminals who broke our federal immigration law, we cannot deny them based on that fact that they are criminals. No, we have to rent to them. That is what this new Illinois law is saying. And I don't agree with it. If you can't tell, I'm not very happy about it. Okay. And I believe personally that it opens up a can of worms because, when you're talking about federal immigration law, okay, we are talking about something that encompasses all the states, right? And there's actually laws in place that say things such as harboring. And I don't know if renting to somebody would fall under harboring. It might. And if you're paranoid about that sort of fact, you might not want to rent to those people. But the state of Illinois will hit you with state charges. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is ridiculous, okay? To me, it's kind of like saying, well, you have to rent to this drug dealer. You have to rent to them, okay? Yes, they're going to be selling drugs out of your place, but you should have to rent to them. But I guess there have been laws already put in place saying that, we don't want you to be able to deny criminals or do criminal background checks. So that none of this should be surprising. None of this should be surprising. Obviously, when we're talking about the ridiculousness of these very far left leaning progressives and their rules they put in place, they like to give benefits and help out the criminals, okay, and punish those people who are law abiding. And that's exactly the sort of stuff that I'm seeing right here, okay? They want to punish a law abiding landlord who doesn't want to rent to a criminal. Give me a break. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. What do you think of a state law that requires you to rent your rental property to those people who violated our federal immigration laws? What do you think of that? Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? I've already told you what I think. I think it's a horrible idea. And you know what? If I don't personally do it, right, I'm not going to come out. If I was a landlord in Illinois and I didn't want to personally do it, I'm not just going to come out and say, hey, I'm not renting to this person because of their status in the U.S. Instead, I'll be doing something like, hey, I was unable to verify this person's identity because they have no background here in the U.S. They have, I'm unable to determine what their criminal history is because they're from a foreign country, So therefore, if I don't want to rent to them, I'm going to use a different excuse in order to get around it. That's what I feel that a lot of landlords in Illinois who don't want to participate in this nonsense, I feel like that's what they're going to do. But anyway, let's get into the article. This article is coming from centersquare.com, and it says, Illinois law prohibits landlords from refusing to rent or sell property to undocumented migrants. Yeah, they call them undocumented migrants. I call them illegal aliens. I don't like to use this terminology to make it sound like, oh, well, this is completely different. No, it's just trying to confuse people. It's trying to confuse people to get them confused between people who immigrated here to the United States legally by getting a green card or maybe coming as a non-immigrant, getting a student visa or whatever, and people who just walked across the border yesterday, okay? They want to confuse people because that's how they garner sympathy. But anyway, let's get into the article. Illinois landlords will soon be required to rent or sell property to undocumented migrants. Beginning January 1st, 2024, protections go into place in the Illinois Human Rights Act for housing regarding immigration status and discriminatory advertising. The law will add immigration status as a protected class. In all, more than 11,000 migrants, most of them from Central and South America, have arrived in Illinois since August of last year. Many of the migrants have been bused to Illinois from Texas after crossing the southern U.S. border. And so immediately when you start reading this article, you can tell the way that they're going. Okay, they're talking about, oh well, they bust them from Texas up here. Listen, those people wanted to go to Illinois. They didn't want to be sitting down on the border. Okay, they wanted to be out in the U.S. where their families are located. Right. So the fact that we let those people in the first place is a huge issue. We shouldn't have let them in the first place. And believe me, when I say that this isn't a problem, it isn't, okay? There are so many landlords who already rent to people who are here illegally, okay? There's no shortage of housing for these people. The landlords who don't rent to them, such as myself, are probably in the minority, okay? So it makes no sense to me that they would even think that this was an issue. But trying to compel a landlord to rent to somebody who is actively here breaking the law, that bothers me. It bothers me a lot. Research has shown that mass immigration has driven up housing costs. Senator J.D. Vance, Republican of Ohio, has brought attention to mass immigration's impact on housing costs. Think about what this does for housing prices when you have to house 10 million people that shouldn't be here. That drives up the cost of housing when interest rates are already through the roof, said Vance to Breitbart News. And he's absolutely correct. And meanwhile, hundreds of thousands, if not millions more, are coming every single year over our border. And if they're like, oh man, we don't have enough affordable housing. Well, maybe we should work on making sure all these people aren't crossing our border and using up all of our affordable housing. Maybe we should use our tax dollars to handle the homeless American people that we have here rather than the homeless hordes of people from foreign countries who just walked over our border within the last week. Okay? It's like they don't have any common sense. These issues, they're impacting everyone. And they don't seem to realize it because it's kind of a slow change in the way things are happening. But you definitely start to notice the effects after a few years of this nonsense. And, it's not good. It's not good. And it says, but Michael Glasser, president of the Illinois based Neighborhood Building Owners Alliance, doesn't see it as a problem. There's always been a large number of refugees coming into this country before this particular crisis. And I'm going to stop right there because this guy doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Okay, yes, the U.S. has, historically taken a large number of refugees, right? But the number of people crossing the border right now, first of all, they're not refugees. They're here for economic reasons, to get jobs, okay? They're not people who are fleeing war, like people who are, in Sudan, which is in civil war right now, people literally just blowing each other up. No, these people are here because, they're lower income and they know they can come over here and make a bunch of money, as compared to in their home countries. So there's a huge difference between the people who are walking over the border and the people who are actual refugees. Okay. And then the second issue is that the numbers are so much higher for the border crossers right now than ever. Like historically, there has never been as many people crossing the border applying for asylum. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. I've done the research. I know, this is not this is not like anything we've ever seen before. And as you could tell, I'm not a fan of illegal immigration. Okay, I do not like it. I think we should close the border, and I support those who want to do so. The average monthly price for rent in Illinois is $1,795, but it's closer to $2,000 in the Chicago area. Glasser said a possible way to address the immigrant crisis and housing issue is to put them to work in the housing industry. What a bunch of garbage. Okay, I mean, I admit, right, a lot of real estate developers, a lot of the contractors, the people building houses out here, this is the group that they use, right? in order to build houses, for roofing, for drywall, for construction, for painting, for concrete work, etc. But this is such a garbage way to look at the problem, okay? We're creating more problems by importing a lot of people and their problems from other countries, okay? So, Illinois has this new law in place. Landlords are going to be required to rent to people who are violating our immigration laws. And like I said, if I was a landlord in Illinois, like follow the law. But there's 1,000 other reasons to reject a tenant if you don't feel comfortable renting to that person.